What up? Welcome back to another deck list. Today we have Elrond of the White Council. This is Simic Elf Blink, kind of. I call this Elrond's never-ending campaign because the entire point of the deck is to just have the players keep voting. He just keeps campaigning. What is he campaigning for? I don't know, but he's a politician, probably. Who is Elrond? I don't know, but what does he do? I can tell you. When he enters, each player votes Fellowship or Aid. For each fellowship vote, the voter chooses a creature they control. You gain control of the creature and it can't attack its owner. And then for each aid, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. You're always going to be voting aid, obviously, because you can't really give yourself a creature. Well, I guess you could, but it'd be irrelevant. And then, yeah, your opponents are forced to either make your guys big or give you good cards. That will then also become big because not everybody's going to give you a card every turn. But yeah, kind of just Simic elf stuff. Onto artifacts. I mean, pretty simple. We got Arcane Signet, good ramp. You have a 5-mana commander, so it's kind of rough. Blade of Cells, equip creatures Myriad. I kind of just like this on the commander or any of the good ETB trigger cards. Just being able to have like 3 or 2 extra ETB triggers on an attack of a creature is pretty nice. Ooh, Conjurer's Closet. End of turn, you flicker a creature. Model of Unity, 3 mana. Whenever a player finishes voting, you and each player who voted may scry 2, and it adds a mana of any color. So let's your opponent scry 2, which maybe this card's not that great. I'm not too sure. But it seems like an in-theme mana rock, so I put it in. Panharmonicon lets us double our ETB triggers. Elrond being one of them, obviously. Soul Ring for ramp. Swiftfoot Boots for protection. Talisman for ramp. And then, yeah, creatures. Not a lot of artifacts. So, Armorcraft Judge 4-mana 3/3. When it enters, draw a card for each 1/1 counter you control with a 1/1, or each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. Obviously, ETB, draw 3 or 4. Pretty good already for a 4-mana 3/3 body that'll get big. Yeah, pretty good card. Arwen, Weaver of Hope. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional 1/1 counters on it equal to its toughness. This will just help all your creatures come in bigger in case people are just giving you creatures and not letting you put 1/1s. Avenger of Zendikar works well with your commander because just all the plants are going to be getting the 1/1 counters from Elrond. When it enters, make a 0/1 plant for each creature or for each land, and then landfall, you put a 1/1 on all those plants. Beast Whisperer, when you cast a creature spell, draw a card. It's also just an elf. It's card advantage. Might as well play it. Coiling Oracle, when it enters, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This is interesting with Flicker. I thought I'd try it out. I don't hate it that much. I think it's kind of interesting. It's not like a crazy good card, but the deck is extremely budget. So, or not extremely budget. It's what, $81 on TCG Player. So yeah, not the most expensive deck, but I tried to put in interesting cards that could maybe work. Dowerport Mage, 2 mana 1/3. Whenever one or more creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. Obviously, this is just flicker anything, draw a card, which is nice. Elvish Archdruid is an elf lord and also adds a bunch of green for elves you control. This is just a mana dork. Rejuvenator is ramp on ETB, so you look at the top 5, put a land among them onto the battlefield tap, put the rest on the bottom in any order. This gets any land, which is nice. Unfortunately, it's a 3 mana 1/1, which is a little expensive, but who cares. Elvish Visionary, 2 mana 1/1, ETB, draw a card, might as well. Just little guys that your commander can buff and give you card advantage so you don't run out of cards. Elvish Warmaster, 2 mana 2/2. When one or more other elves enter under your control, make a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers once each turn. This will just let you get more elves on board for if your opponents decide to give your creatures 1/1. And you can also pay 7, and then elves get +2/+2 and Death Touch till end of turn, which is interesting. Aristor of the Council, 3 mana 2/4. Whenever a player finishes voting, each opponent who voted for a choice you voted for makes a treasure. You scry X, where X is the number of opponents who voted for a choice you didn't vote for. Draw a card. So either you and opponents, you can kind of maybe force an opponent if they need a treasure to give you a card. If not, you also just ramp with treasures. Who voted for your choice you voted for? Maybe this card sucks. This card might suck. I guess you could choose take a creature, and then the 3 Voltron players would say, here's a 1/1, and you just scry 3. So you just give yourself a bad choice for this scry instead. Eternal Witness, ETB, return a card from your graveyard to your hand. Obviously, this is another good flicker target. You can just keep doing it. Evolution Witness is probably the same card but better. It's just whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on it, you return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Obviously, with your commander, whenever you blink it, you can essentially just get an Eternal Witness trigger. Farhaven Elf, 3 mana 1/1 when it enters, search your library for a land, put on battlefield, tap, shuffle. Basic land, it's kind of just ramp, and it's an elf. Fathom Mage, 4 mana 1/1, evolve whenever a 1/1 counter is put on this creature, you may draw a card. Again, this just synergizes with the commander, putting 1/1s on everything. Also evolve, so you don't need it for that. Galadriel, Elven Queen, 4 mana 4/5 at the beginning of combat. If another elf enters the battlefield under control this turn, starting with you, each player votes for Dominion or Guidance. If Dominion gets more votes, the ring tempts you, then put a 1/1 counter on your ring bearer. If Guidance gets more votes or the vote is tied, draw a card. So best case scenario, the ring tempts you. Worst case scenario, you draw a card, or you put a 1/1 counter. No, yeah, you just draw a card, which not bad. And also an elf entering every turn could just be casting an elf from hand or blinking an elf on your first main. Lily Splash Mentor, 4 mana 4/4 reach, and you can pay 3 to essentially blink a creature, give it a +1/+1 counter, activate only as a sorcery, which is fine because this is just repeatable on a creature, which is nice. Llanowar Elves is a dork. Reclamation Sage, ETB, destroy a artifact or enchantment. Obviously, this is also really good with flickering or doubling ETBs. Rishkar, Pima Renegade, when it enters, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and each creature that has counters can add a green. So you can just kind of make all your creatures into dorks if you need them to. Springbloom Druid, 3 mana 1/1, when it enters, you may sack a land. If you do, get 2 basics, put them on the battlefield, tap and shuffle. Kind of just ramp again, but on a 3 mana elf body. Viridian Shaman, 3 mana 2/2, when it comes into play, destroy target artifact. It's kind of like Rex Sage, but only hits artifact and not also enchantments. Wood Elves, 3 mana 1/1, when it enters, search your library for forest, put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle, just more ramp. Y'shtola, at the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it's your first end step, there's an additional end step. This lets you flicker twice on end step. It's like Conjurer's Closet on a creature for 6 mana instead. I like it. I think double flicker at the end of turn. This card is kind of just a magnet for removal in the right deck. On any enchantments, Kindred Discovery enters, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters or attacks, draw a card. This is obviously crazy in a deck that has a lot of elves that get pretty big, so they can all attack, and you're playing a lot of elves. You're just drawing a lot of cards with this card. Really, really good. And then Simic Ascendancy, 2 mana, you can pay 3, put a 1/1 counter on a creature, and whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on a creature, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. Alt win con in the deck. If you're putting on like 4 or 5 counters on your creatures every turn, this card just goes kind of crazy. On to the instance, Arcane Denial, it's counterspell. We're in blue, obviously, we're playing counters. We're also in green, so we're playing the best green removal spell, which is Beast Within. Blur, which is just blink, draw a card, counterspell, blink 2, do nothing. Blink 1, it comes in with a 1/1. Ghostly Flicker, blink 2, ramp, protection. This is a fun card. You choose how each player votes this turn. If your opponents have a few each have like a few really strong creatures, you have a few blink cards in your hand for Elrond, you can kind of just steal everything. Really, really like this card. Also, Illusion of Choice is just a great name for it. Inspiring Call, draw a card for each creature with a 1/1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible. It's a bit of protection. It's also a bunch of card draw. I think the ha thing is a reference to this game. I'm not sure though. We'll just pretend it doesn't exist. We'll just never mind. Counterspell. Opt, scry 1, draw a card. I don't know. There's probably a better card you can put in. I think this card is kind of a bad card to put in, just in theme of the deck. Planar Incision, exile target artifact or creature, enters the 1/1. Removal, flicker. If it's a pirate, draw a card. It's just 2 mana flicker at instant speed, which is pretty good. Split Decision, choose target instant sorcery spell starting with you. Each player votes for denial or duplication. If denial gets more votes, counter the spell. If duplication gets more votes or the vote is tied, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This is an interesting Kind of counterspell, weird voting mechanic thing. I just like it, so I put it in the deck. Teferi's Time Twist is a blink, but it comes back at end of turn, so it can protect from like board wipes. Gonna ignore lands for now. Pretty basic land base. Sorceries are also kind of basic, if I'm being honest. We got a lot of ramp. Elven Farsight I wanted to try playing just to see how it felt. It feels surprisingly good. There's enough creatures. Scry 3, reveal the top card of your library. If it's creature, draw a card. So it's kind of just like look at the top 3, add a card to hand, and you can keep the rest on top or bottom, which is nice. Farseek is ramp. Kodama's Reach is ramp. Nature's Lore is ramp. Plea for Power, 4 mana starting with you. Each player votes time or knowledge. If time gets more votes, you take an extra turn. If knowledge gets more votes, draw 3. Realistically, this reads 4 mana, draw 3, but if you do Illusion of Choice before this, it is 4 mana, take an extra turn, which is pretty efficient. Also, it's just a voting card, so I kind of kept it in the deck. Rampant Growth is ramp, obviously. Selvala Stampede, 6 mana, starting with you. Each player votes wild or free. Reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal a creature card. For each wild vote, put those cards on the battlefield. Then shuffle the rest in your library. You may put a permanent card from your hand on for each free vote. So it's not great because the CMC mana or the CMC of like creatures in this deck are kind of low, but I don't know. It's a voting. It's like a bigger voting card. Might as well try it. Splash Portal, 1 mana blink in sorcery speed. 3 visits is just ramp. Yeah, quickly going through the lands, there's really nothing special. They're all pretty standard. Obviously, like, we're playing decent lands. I mean, the most expensive one by far is just the Breeding Pool, but because it was printed in Edge of Eternities, it kind of affords to put it in the deck. Easily take this out. I highly recommend buying Shocks right now, because I'm assuming they're going to jump back up to like $15-20 in the next year. At least the new Edge of Eternities ones. Also, that might be in Canadian. I'm not sure. I haven't checked what prices are for older printings, if I'm being honest. I remember I was seeing like the Boros one for, I don't know, $10. I'm like, oh, maybe. And yeah, this is 15 American on TCG Player, which is typically probably the cheapest way to find it. Either way, on the maybe board, we got some expensive cards in here and some not so expensive cards that are still pretty good. Archaeomancer, ETB, Return Instant Sorcery. If you want to focus more on blinking, it's a good card. Displacer Kitten, also a really good card if you want to focus on blinking. When you cast non-creature, exile to another non-land permanent you control, then returns that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Notably, if you have this on board, you don't want to cast a blink spell and then have Displacer Kitten also target the same card, because the card that's being targeted by Displacer Kitten will be blinked, and then the blink spell will fizzle because the original target's gone. This would be more for if you're blinking 2 different things, which is why it's not on the deck, because I don't think there were enough ETBs I cared about that were just like, oh yeah, this is always good. Emissary Green, when it attacks starting with you, each player votes for profit or security. You make number of treasure tokens equal twice the number of profit votes, put a number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control for the number of security votes. This is an interesting card. It does voting. I think maybe I would just swap the opt-out for this card, honestly. Putting a little more thought into it. But it felt awkward being a 5 mana 3/3. It takes the same CMC slot as your commander. I don't think it's as good. But yeah, it's kind of in the deck. Guardian Project. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. Obviously in Commander, which is the singleton format. This card's really, really good. Peregrine Drake was originally in the deck with Archaeomancer. It does infinite mana stuff. Yeah. And then with the infinite mana, you like Archaeomancer, Flicker with the displays. When your commander, you make infinitely large guys in the same turn. I think I played this combo in the Plagon Starfish deck, but it was just, I've actually been playing that deck in paper recently, and it's one of those things you see the combo and you're like, oh, I did this thing. And I didn't want to put it in the deck, so I just kind of sideboarded it. Starfield Vocalist, this is a Panharmonicon on a creature. I think this card's good, but I didn't want to... maybe you could replace Panharmonicon with this. Downside being it's a creature, so it's easier to remove. But the warp cost is really, really cool. Yeah, I think this card's pretty good. And then Thassa Deep Dwelling, indestructible as long as your devotion to blue is less than 5. It isn't a creature, which is pretty easy because most of your permanents are green. And then at the beginning of your end step, exile up to one target creature card you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This is just another Conjurer's Closet, Y'shtola effect, but it's kind of expensive, so I just didn't put it in the deck. But yeah, that's the deck. Thank you very much for watching. Elrond's never-ending campaign. He'll be campaigning next year too, don't worry about it. Or however often campaigns are in Lord of the Rings. I don't know. I haven't watched any of the movies. But yeah, goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week with something else.